The Woman King. Now this one is very different compared to a lot of other historical epics that we've had in the past, because the majority of them are either centred on World War II, World War I, or around the Roman times, or, you know, other legendary periods of particularly the Western world. And in this one, it focuses on a particular key time in Africa. And I think what particularly attracted to me about this film was the fact that it was called The Woman King, which is an intriguing title in itself, but also it stars Viola Davis, and I think she's an incredible actress anyway, and just this general story of how this particular time period affected Western Africa. And it looked like to me that it would fill a few gaps, at least give an understanding-ish of what it was like during that particular time in Africa, during times when slaves were still being auctioned. So I think it would be educational in some capacity as well. So yeah, I thought to myself, I can't really miss this one. So The Woman King is inspired by true events in the West African kingdom of Dahomey during the 17th to 19th centuries, and it follows the emotionally epic journey of General Naniska as she trains the next generation of recruits and readies them for battle against an enemy determined to destroy their way of life. So as I just highlighted in that plot overview, the film is inspired by true events, and the key word there is inspired, because that's all it is, which makes me think that they've used a piece of history, which of course was this particular time period in Western Africa, and created a story and introduced their own characters to give us a little piece and a taster of what life was like during that time. So when you look at it like that, it'll either go one way or the other, where it might be too controversial, where it's historically inaccurate, while at the same time it might give us a little tinge of what is true. So I think it depends on what perspective you might look at it, really, and how you feel about it. And this film is kind of Black Panther-esque, in which it is a cultural tale that celebrates the traditions of Western Africa during that particular time, such as the use of songs, rituals and chants. But the film goes deeper than that in terms of the characterizations and the narrative, in which it does break gender stereotypes, because historically men are the warriors and the women are there to clean and look after the children. But in this case, the roles are kind of reversed a little bit, in which the women are the warriors and the men are the ones who are a bit more submissive. And because it's a story that is considered a historical epic, and it does have high stakes, it gives us a lot of room to get into the characters. A bit more on that later on, but in terms of the action sequences as well, and what they do and how they survive, basically. And that's where it kind of reminds me a little bit of Gladiator, because the training program and process is going to train these women to become warriors, while at the same time it's being done in front of the local community, almost like for entertainment, really. That is going to contribute equally to the survival of this tribe. And just how it was filmed was absolutely amazing, particularly the action sequences. The attention to detail in the choreography and the violence was absolutely exquisite. In fact, it felt so close to the action, the stunt work at least, that it almost felt like it was a celebratory factor about the Dahomey Amazons, as they were known as at that particular time. And you really felt involved in the action, and it wasn't over the top, but it just felt genuine, even in some grim moments that happen in the film. And also the music was very much on point as well, in which it did give us that historical factor and also that epic feeling of that it is a massive story with such high stakes, and it broadens the scale of the whole narrative even more. And there were certain strands to the narrative that did make me question, is that entirely correct? Is that really what happened? Is that even possible? But I think because it's a tale that is inspired by true events, it's something that isn't a bad thing, I don't think, because it's something that at least educates people, at least specifically about the Dahomey Amazons, and that's what I think was key to the character development of this film. And to be honest, what better actress to play the leading role than Viola Davis? And once again, it was an absolutely terrific performance from her. And I wouldn't expect anything less from her anyway, because in this role, she really typified the fierce nature of the character and also the vulnerabilities as the narrative goes on. Because she wasn't just this stone-faced warrior who just killed people. She was someone who had human emotions, and she really had a past and a history which really kind of unveiled her true self. And Viola Davis balanced that absolutely brilliantly, and she really almost left me with my jaw on the floor every single time I watched her, because again, she's an absolutely incredible actress. She's so underappreciated, it's untrue. And again, this is one of the best that she's ever produced in cinema. Again, I hope she gets an Oscar nomination, because she thoroughly deserves one. And in many ways, a bit like Chadwick Boseman's performance in Black Panther, this film shows that women were empowering then, but equally for today's audience, it's empowering now, and that is something to feel inspired by. So despite establishing its main character, the film also very nicely develops other supporting characters too, in which they have their own contribution to the whole narrative. I've got to give particular praise to Thuso Mbedu, who actually had a more significant role in this film than I thought she would. She's someone who makes a feature film debut, and what a debut it was. It was absolutely fantastic, and you really got the emotional attachment to this character. You really felt that you were going on this journey with her, as well as Viola Davis's character. She basically represented young women during that particular time period in which they kind of led a life where they had a very difficult ultimatum, where they either had to be warriors, where they would likely die, or they would have to marry someone and they would likely be beaten up by them. So there was a difficult decision to make for her. And Thuso Mbedu again was absolutely fantastic in this film. And I also really like Lashana Lynch's performance in this film as well. Now we all recognise her of course from the James Bond film No Time to Die, but in this film she really kind of took a very fine balance, in my opinion, between being a fierce warrior, because she was training them, while also serving as a mentor, particularly to Nawi. And that's what I think she really kind of conveyed through her performance, so credit to Lashana Lynch for her performance as well. Now there was one particular performance that I had kind of mixed feelings about, and that was from John Boyega, and the most distinctive feature in his performance was the accent, because we're all very used to his very British accent, and because of this he obviously had to put a certain accent on as part of the character, and it did feel a little bit cheesy at times because we all know him so well from other things, of course. I think he did the best with what he was given, and I think he articulated it the best that he could, so I think while it was cheesy, it was still decent enough. So credit to Boyega as well. So overall, The Woman King was absolutely fantastic, and it does go down, in my opinion, as one of the best films of the year. And while it may have certain moments in the film through politics and through history that may question certain inaccuracies, and for a story that inspires true events, it's a film that I thought was absolutely fantastic, that depicts the horrors of slavery, abuse and death, while also celebrating the cultural side of Western Africa during that particular time, showing us vulnerability and other signs of strength that go beyond just action. And for a film that's just over 2 hours long, it's a very nicely balanced film in which it was able to develop the main character while also crucial supporting characters as well. So what did you think of The Woman King? Did you enjoy it, or did you think that it was a bit too cliched as a film that was inspired by true events and that it was too historically inaccurate to enjoy? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you did go on to enjoy this video, then please hit the like button and subscribe for more, and have a notification bell ticked so you're notified when I upload a new video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care everybody.